welcome to Butterflies of Wisdom, everyone. And now I don't know how to put this, but I'll put it this way. If you want comic relief, and if you want a person to tell it like it is, I'm lucky enough to have DJ with me from the Smugcast, and the Smugcast could be found in any podcasting app, whether it be Stitcher, whether it be iTunes, on their website. You listen to podcasts. So without further ado, I'm going to let DJ take it away.
Thanks for having me. It's awesome to be on here. And we've been doing our podcast for almost a year now, and we noticed that a lot of our shows need to work together because we're all trying to work towards the common goal. I do have a co-host named AP. He came to me one day, and I was telling him about my review at work, and because we were trying to think of a name for the show we wanted to do, and one of my supervisors said I could be smug and condescending. So I said, hey, what about Smugcast? So that's how the name actually came about.
The reviews work. Love the way, DJ. Love the way. And does your employer know about this podcast, and are they supportive?
Yeah, they do know about it. I've had people that work with me on it. I don't say where we work at, but I did talk to the person I needed to make sure the steps I needed to take to make sure it would not affect anybody. But yeah, there's a lot of people at work that were fans of it, and people I didn't even know about. I would get a phone call, and that was the weirdest part is people that would become fans. And having fans is weird because we're just everyday people. We have normal jobs. I'm married. AP's married. We both have kids. Is when someone on social media or someone on Facebook, whatever it is, will say, hey, I'm a big fan of the show, and you don't know them. And at first, I didn't know how to react. But that was that's when I knew we were doing something right, when somebody would say, hey, love the show. It's hilarious. Keep doing what you're doing. And we didn't know who they were. And then even my wife's been on the show, and she's a big fan of the show because she was the inspiration behind it. Because one day we were laying in bed watching Comedy Central, and I was like, I'm funnier than that guy. And this is like 5 years ago. My wife's like, she goes, but what are you doing with it though?
Oh, geez. The wife said, you have to do something with them. Good. Now you have a supportive family, so when you go down in the basement, they support you.
Yeah, they support us a lot. My parents just came up and sit in on the last episode. My parents, growing up, we watched nothing but comedies, and comedy got us through a lot of tough times growing up with my background, and so we always got through it with laughter, and we always try to outwit each other with our jokes, and so it's carried on even to this day. And I always felt like I was surrounded by a lot of talented people, but we had no outlet. So that's when we started the podcast, and now it's evolved into where we're going to be doing videos and also skits, and then so it's being able to take people out of the normal element, put them in something else. It's because I want to see people always strive. I always want to see people to do what they love. If you truly do what you love, then you do it for free, and where you don't care about the money. And that's where we got into this, and it wasn't about the money. We just wanted to entertain people because we call it two dudes, and we're in our mid-30s, and we have wife and kids, and, a lot of the things that we all go through, and it was kind of an outlet for people, when they mow grass or the long drives and stuff. So, and that was the big premise on it was that one, and a lot of us, and it's funny, it's because when you get in front of the mic for the first time, it is very nerve-wracking. But I have a great partner in him, and I owe him the world because he pushed me to do it because I was not real confident in doing it. Because I was like, I don't like my voice. I was like, I'll write stuff. You guys can do it. And then he pushed me to be on it. And then it's grown leaps and bounds in the year that we've been doing it.
So you've been doing it a year, and that the hashtag Pardon Family has helped with that.
Yeah. I mean, and that's when you really know that the support we've gotten from everybody, it's been top to bottom. The only funny story I have is when AP's dad listened to it, and he called him and said, "Dad, what do you think?" He's like, "Yeah, I listened to a bunch of them. Yeah, it's just not as funny." So we have our critics out there.
Oh, God.
That was good.
Oh, God.
That was good, though, because we wanted honesty from people. And I've had times where I've got a text message or something or a phone call saying like, "Hey, what about this?" But I've also got phone calls about where it's created debate. We talked about something about history when we did the conspiracy theory, and I got text messages and emails explaining further, and so it created debate among people, and that's when I was like, "Hey, that is really cool." So
that is really cool.
Yeah.
That is really cool.
Yeah, so and that's why that was the premise. That's the premise of the show is we do it twofold. Like, we love having interviews. I love interviewing people. I really do. I love the fact of sitting down, going through who they are, have questions for them, and then having them come in, and then having them come out. And because some people are naturally talkers, which my wife says me and Aaron are chatty Cathys, so we have no problem talking. But we've had some pretty cool episodes where we brought on people that have had some for change. For example, it was part of the cannabis oil for the kids that are having seizures. And we had someone on whose daughter who had up to 40, 50 seizures a day, and how this medicine helped her, but is still illegal in this state. And, it helped get the word out that, like, the bill is coming up in Indiana. Make sure you support the bill. And that I felt like we were doing something there. Like, so we got the word out, had the people on from iNormal, and there was a higher fellowship. That's who they were. They came on and talked about it. And then, because most people just assumed one way, we brought out the other side to tell them the truth of what was really going on and how it affected, it affected soldiers, it affected children. It affected everybody, and it was more cost effective, and it had a better impact on their quality of life. And so that was something that I didn't think I'd be doing, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, that I'd be sitting down with somebody getting their message out, and then that was really cool.
That was really cool. Now, do you realize that I come from a state where all this stuff is legal? And do you realize that people have actually moved to Colorado to save their kids with cannabis oil? And I think it's really cool. And I admitted to my fans, and I was saying, and if my cerebral palsy got to the point I couldn't control it anymore, to the point where I just couldn't function, I would do that. And so to us, we just think it's normal in the state of Colorado. To you guys think it's the coolest thing on the planet that you are now talking about this cannabis oil that's saving people's lives.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that AP is real passionate about. I've had 4 surgeries myself from injuries from sports, and then if there's something that can help you, and we're not talking about the THC in it, we're just talking about the actual, because it's like $800 a month. Her name is Jess Hooker. She's also a podcaster and stuff, and she came on and was talking about it, and you don't know, and if we're not advocating certain things, but we're advocating I have children. I have a 13-year-old son and a 12-year-old son. If it could help them in any way, I'm going to do whatever it takes to help them, because those are my kids, the same way for my wife or my friends or family. But we have this misconception is that we use it in a way to get high, and that couldn't be further from the truth. I mean, some of these seizures these little children have could break their necks. And, you know,
that's my concern. Having a disability that could injure you even more. Gee, that's how cool is that if you have epilepsy and then break your neck because you're having a seizure?
No, absolutely. And I think we need to look at it. We need to look at it for, it could be a case by case. It doesn't need to be a broad stroke, and that's one of the areas where if you listen to our show, it goes from us being ridiculously silly to an actual serious topic. So we try to make it a pretty broad range, because we're in Indiana, we're based out of Indianapolis, and we try to have a lot of local people on to give them a message here in Indianapolis. That way, give them another platform to be able to get out there and maybe, you know, one or two people hear it and maybe they get involved. And so that's something I think that's good for us to do. If we have this platform, we need to use it for all realms and not just one. So, and I think that's something that's, because one of our biggest influences was Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan is I listen to his podcast for, I don't know, the past 5-6 years, and he has a broad array of people on, not just one thing. And I think that's where we wanted to make sure we talk to everybody, we'll bring anybody on. I mean, that's the thing that we really enjoy doing is so, and that's part of the hardest thing though is I don't know how hard it's been for you is getting guests is, until they actually come on, it's real nerve-wracking. That's the most nerve-wracking thing about the podcast is you book a guest, you're all excited. The day of the show, they're not on. And that's probably the only thing I find stressful about what we do is because you want to try to bring people on for your fans to get excited about. And but the favorite episode that we've done so far, there's been 2, which was my birthday roast that AP hosted. And then the other one was the Blonde on Brunette, which was with Jess Hooker. They have their own podcast and YouTube channel. Those guys came on. Those have been our 2 favorite episodes, I think, that we've done.
Wow, God, that's amazing that you guys can go from being incredibly silly to a serious topic. I could not do that. I admire you guys for doing that.
Well, we're also half crazy though, so we know that. We've accepted that.
We're also
out there.
Crazy, yeah. Yes.
Yeah,
whoever designed your artwork, they deserve a huge shout out. It's the coolest cover artwork I have seen. It kind of looks like a comic book.
Yeah, AP is actually he does pictures. He also does videos. AP is an amazing man. I know he doesn't want me to do this. That's fine. I owe him a lot. AP is a guy that if you want something done, like I've always found a way to get it done, but he'll push you to get it done. And he's a positive person. He's always upbeat. And if you tell him no, he'll find a way to do it. And I owe a lot to him because he designed. I have my Smugcast shirt on right now. He designed that shirt. He designs a lot of stuff. He actually the table we use in our little studio we built. He built that table by hand. So and that's where, it was awesome except for when we had to take it up the stairs and I almost fell down the stairs. But other than that, the table was amazing.
Yeah. My podcast studio is at a basement hallway and with a staircase. So even though I do have the fancy podcast equipment, I should be using it more than I do, but because without this Apple earphones, I couldn't get anything done. So with the tiny spaces we all have to record these amazing podcasts, I'm surprised we do have following, because if people knew where we were sitting as we record these podcasts, they would be amazed.
Absolutely. I mean, we started with a folding chair and folding table, two folding chairs, two mics and a Mac, and then I think now we have up to five. We have up to five mics. We have soundproofing in the room. We added a TV, a table, just because we wanted to. That way, if a guest comes in, like we love having guests in the studio. We did one over the phone with his name is Concept. He's based out of Brooklyn. He's a hip hop artist, but he was in South Korea. So we did him on the phone, and that was amazing. Is because he's one of my all-time favorite artists, and I emailed him, and he came on the show, and I was nervous because this is a lot of times when you meet people you look up to and you like, it kind of lets you can be let down, but he was amazing.
Yeah.
It was amazing. So he was in South Korea. He came on talk for, he gave us an hour. He didn't have to do any of that. And because he said something that was really stuck with me because he's trying to build his brand, and he knew we were just kind of starting out, and he came on and gave us an hour to help build our brand. And that was something that was, people like that. Yeah.
That sounds awesome. That sounds awesome.
Yeah, because that was the only time I've actually, there's been twice, even with Jess Hooker. I was a fan of her podcast. She was on Chick McGee podcast, and then she came over to the studio to record with us. I'm sitting next to her. I'm like, I'm a fan of hers, and she's sitting next to me on our podcast. And that was such a cool feeling to have. Like, I'm a fan of yours, and now you're here, and I still relish, or I still cherish those things like that. I still take those to heart because it's like I don't want to forget that feeling and ever think that like someone comes on they're not important. So everybody that comes on, I try to look at it that way is that they're there and then they're very special to I'm very thankful that they are there because without them then a lot of our success goes to people that we have on and the variety that we do have.
Yeah, I know a lot of success both you and I go to along with it who have every single word of Smug Staff or Butterflies of Wisdom. My listeners hang on every single word, and your listeners probably do too.
Yeah, and we try to make it interactive. Like during the show, sometimes we do Facebook Live, and but I've noticed that people are the busiest on Facebook on Sunday nights. Like for people like in 30s and over, because we tried to do it like on a Saturday and nobody was on there, but on Sunday night we had a lot of people, and we try to get them involved because the way I look at the ones that are from the beginning, that have been with us from the beginning, we really make an effort to cater to them to make them still feel like they're that they're very important to the show. So people send us ideas, people send us in questions. Some of the questions I can't read, and then I still remember our very first real fan. He was from Iowa, and he hit us up on Twitter, and it was like, hey, man, I'm a big fan of the show. And I remember talking to AP, and was like, dude, we have a fan. And, and that was part,
you just know this person.
And then, we get the breakdown from the countries that people listen to him in, and there's somebody that listened to it in the Isle of Man. And we had to look it up to make sure where it was again. There was one download from the Isle of Man, yeah. And you don't think about that. Like, this is worldwide, so, and there's people in different countries picking it up. And you try to figure out, like, who's in the Isle of Man listening to us. Like, we don't know anybody there. But it was just, it's cool to see things. It's cool to see something that you put your heart and soul in, you see it grow. And that's amazing because, I have a regular job I work. I'm very thankful for that job. It's allowed me to do a lot of great things. But this is something that we built from nothing up, and it's something that I cherish a lot, and we get great support from everybody, like we were talking about. But it's amazing, and I'm very blessed and very thankful for everybody we have. And one thing that we do is on the show is we have we're ourselves, but we've kind of turned up a little bit. So, and I'm a big wrestling fan. And that's one of the things is you take your personality, you just kind of turn it up a little bit, and you play almost like a character, but you're still true to yourself. And that's why I'm actually a pretty calm, laid back person. And but on the show, it's like you get that mic and you get someone in there, and it just gets you all fired up.
No. And I could tell you that I get disappointment doing this podcast blog stuff like you, BJ. And so where can people find you, and how can people get a hold of this amazing podcast that I'm going to now listen to every single day? Yes, and yes, he's laughing at me because, yes, if you listen to yesterday's episode, kind of throws me under the bus, which that's okay. Throw me under the bus. I don't care. I've had worse coming out of my pants. Throw me under the bus. This is actually the second time I've been thrown under the bus because of a podcast. But you guys life a little bit easier for all of us. And even though you throw people under the bus, like me, you can.
Absolutely. Laughter is the key. If you want to get a hold of us, it's Twitter @SmugcastShow. My personal is @DBJRobbins. Our email is smugcastshow@gmail.com. Our Facebook's just Smugcast. New episode is up every Monday, and like she said, is iTunes, Stitcher, and then obviously smugcast.com. If you do send in questions, we do try to put all the questions on there. And one thing about it is if you do tweet us, we do try to get back to our fans, talk back to our fans. We are very accessible, so if you guys have any questions or anything like that, just send them in. We'd be more happy to read them on the air. I really enjoy doing that.
Yes, and Todd, there's an episode that I listen to that the title is Deceiving, Podcasting for Everyone. I recommend you guys go listen to Podcasting for Everyone. It's not about podcasting. It's a fan-based question, and these guys answer. And so I recommend that you guys go listen to Podcasting for Everyone. You get a kick out of it. I did, and it's like, the title, Billy Disease. Here I thought you were going to talk about podcasting. Nope. And this show is a little bit raunchy, but me, I personally like raunchy when it comes down to it because these guys are so open and honest. I mean, they'll talk about anything underneath the sun. So please, this is not the kids' show by any means. So please, if you have kids, don't open up that with them because then they'll ask you questions that you may not want to answer. So what is your favorite episode that you would recommend everyone on my podcast go listen to?
The one I have, my personal selfish one is my birthday roast. It was something that those guys had put together for me, and it's an old school. If you go back to Don Rickles, who just passed away, was one somebody I looked up to. It's kind of like the old days of the old of the roast where they used to have them with Dean Martin and everybody. So it's a throwback to that one. But one of my favorite ones that we did, I think, was CBD. It was done back on March 13th. It is with Jess from Blonde on Brunette and also David Phipps and Bobby Joe Young from Higher Society. They were talking. That's the one where they talk about the health issues and the benefits of CBD. So that way you can see both sides of us. So those are the two that I recommend. One goes one way and one goes the other. So there's a huge variety in both of those.
Yes, a huge variety in both of those. But before I let DJ go back to fabulous work and fabulous day job at that, because I'm probably kind of in the middle of the day, I'm going to let DJ let him ask questions of me.
Alrighty. What's one of the biggest obstacles that Well, let me ask this. What made you want to get into podcasting, though? Because that's always a question we always get asked.
I wrote and 2 weeks after that came out, people started asking me, how do you do this with disability? How do you do running your amazing life with a disability? And I thought, well, if I get on that podcasting mic and share my story one more time, people are going to tune me out. So, like you guys, I'm really open and honest with my fan. I also bring people in to podcast and then to my story of having cerebral palsy with the interviews. But like you guys, I am really open and honest with my fans. I mean, my life is literally open a book.
Has it? One of the things I noticed is has it helped you gain more confidence by doing this show?
Has it helped gain more confidence? Well, part of cerebral palsy is a speech impediment. Again, getting behind the podcast and would prove a speech impediment so quickly that it's not even funny.
Oh, okay. There's one thing I found is I was able to feel like I could grow like interview skills and things like that. So
yeah.
That was the hardest thing.
I definitely agree that the first time you get on that mic, you're not perfect. By the 100th time, you're even better than the first time.
Yeah, I mean, like this is this is one of the I feel great. Like this, like with how smooth and everything's been, and with the questions and stuff, is like I feel. I don't know. It's so awesome to do this. Like how prepared you guys were, how much respect you show for guests. So I mean, that's one thing.
Well, we try. Thank you much.
No, it's
also,
amazing.
I know,
it's amazing.
And also, here's a tip for you guys: if you ever want to be interviewed on a podcast, don't listen to the interviewer's podcast, please, because that will help DJ and I a lot. If DJ pitches you or AP pitches you, don't listen to Smoothcast just so you get a taste of how they're going to interview you.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And then what's one of
fair.
Do you have a favorite? Did you I thought how I got my favorite? Someone I looked up. Have you been able to get one of your favorite guests yet?
Yes. I actually got New York Times bestselling author, believe it or not, talking about mindset, and that was one of my favorite interviews by all time. And she, her name is J.J. Virgin, and she is a New York Times bestselling author. She's also a weight loss guru and a defensive one. And she asked me about mindset, and you can hear it in my voice. I go gulp, but I don't say that. And so it was really cool having someone that I look up to ask me about mindset. So that has been one of my favorite episodes.
Oh, I listened to that one. I love that one.
Oh, you picked the one that you listened to. Yeah, but that was one of my all-time favorites.
Yeah, that was that's the one that downloaded and listened to, and her story and everything, the mindset. Like I had gotten somewhere, but I didn't get out of my car because I was finishing listening to her talk. Like that's like I was in tune with it. Yeah,
you sat in the call with that one. Well, I appreciate the feedback. See, a lot of people sat in their call with that one. I'm surprised she said yes to little old me, but you'll never know who will say yes to little old you. And all you have to do, you guys, is ask if you can interview them. And sometimes you get a not interested. Sometimes you get a yes. But, you know, DJ, I have never gotten a no. I've gotten a not interested, but I've never gotten a complete no. I've gotten a no because I'm too busy, but I have never got a complete no yet.
Yeah, I've never got a complete no. I just had people that forgot when we were doing the show.
Oh, that's always helpful. That's always helpful. You set up these shows and then they forget. That's always helpful when the guests send you up.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's part of it. But I mean, that's part of growing and everything like that. And then that's when I got the invite to come on this. I was excited because I listened to the show, and then I was like, wow, we're all starting out the same. We all started at one point, and you know, it's one thing when a celebrity starts one or a former athlete, you know, they're going to have the audience, but to grow something from start to where we all capable of going, it's a pretty cool feeling because it's what we're putting into it to make it go that way. So that's why I love doing it.
And we are leaving a legacy that no one can repeat.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, no one can repeat our legacy, what we're leaving. And you guys, I am going to let DJ get next to his scandalous day job, and I'm going to let DJ get back to his scandalous podcasting. And he has a new fan in me. AT and DJ have a new fan in me. And go check out Snowmass. As I said, it's an iTunes and they're really interacted with their fans. And so I hope you enjoyed. I know this episode was a little bit out of the ordinary, but if you listen to some stuff, you'll see why I had to get a little bit. DJ does not stick to traditional podcasting, and no one does AT. So I appreciate you guys sticking with us. And this podcast is sponsored by Go Kitter, K-I-T-T-E-R. And what Go Kitter does is they put the hashtags with your tweets. So I appreciate that and them sponsoring this podcast. And as I said, I hope you guys enjoy another fabulous episode with DJ from Snowmass, and go have fun with those guys. Thanks to you guys.